Hello and welcome to Allegedly Astrology. Each week we break down the astrology that happened during some of the biggest scandals and events in history.
Thanks so much to everyone for listening to our show. And if you want to support us, you can leave us a 5-star review and subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're listening on.
And if you do leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and DM us a screenshot of your review, we'll make you a custom meme of your big three and send you a quick write-up about it.
We also have a super cool and extremely exclusive Patreon. So if you want more astrology content, join us at patreon.com/allegedlyastrology.
And make sure to follow us on social. We're Allegedly Astrology on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. We would love if you could subscribe to YouTube and Allegedly Astro on Twitter. You could also go to our website to find a bunch of stuff like readings with Dana, transcripts, some charts for select episodes, and learn more about the show.
Once we hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, we'll let you guys see our faces. So I know you want to see us. So here we go. With that, Dana, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about Celine Dion.
Celine Dion.
Oh.
Yes, she is a French-Canadian singer, considered to be one of pop's most influential vocalists. She's been referred to as the Queen of Power Ballads and is noted for her powerful and technically skilled vocals. She was one of the top earning artists of the 2000s, and combined with album sales and concert revenue, exceeded $750 million. She has the highest grossing concert residency of all time in Vegas. Really? That's crazy. And, is one of the highest grossing touring artists in history. Not to mention, she's just generally one of the best-selling musical artists of all time. She's the 6th most successful female artist in the history of the U.S. Billboard 200. I'm tired even just talking about her accolades. So let's learn more about her and her astrology.
Yeah, I feel like I knew Celine Dion was popular, but I did not realize how much of a big deal she actually is. In terms of just gross profits, she's like one of the best-selling artists of all time in 10,000 ways. So, chic for her. But Celine was born Celine Marie Claudette Dion, born into a huge family. She's the youngest of 14 children, which seems like an amount of children you could only have during the Dust Bowl era.
Crazy.
Yeah. But she was born in Quebec. Her mom was a homemaker. Her dad was a butcher. And she grew up pretty poor, but, she was happy. And from an early age, she just dreamed of being a performer. So, Dana, what is Celine's big three?
Okay, this is awesome. She was born on March 30th, 1968 in Charlemagne, Quebec. So she's Quebecois, and at 12:15 p.m. And she was born on a North Node solar eclipse in Aries. So she has an Aries sun and moon and a Leo rising.
Damn, that performer.
Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, so people born on eclipses have extreme life circumstances. We know that. And she's an Aries sun, so the sun's exalted in Aries. She's a star. She goes after what she wants. Her goals are clear to her, and she cannot be stopped. Her sun is rejoicing in the 9th house of God. And so this is just icon status, especially because her sun's her chart ruler. And her Aries sun is ruled by Mars in detriment in Taurus in her 10th house of career. So Mars in detriment avoids conflict, but Mars is still Mars, and Mars in the 10th house goes for it in her career. And so she's dominant in her field. And then we get to her Aries moon. So it's been said that the moon in Aries is the only fire moon that can self-validate.
Okay, wow. We keep calling it Aries moon, the Rihanna moon, but dare we say the Celine moon from now on?
Maybe. She did do it first.
She did do it first. Holy cow.
And none of her factories have problematic labor things going on.
True.
So her moon in Aries is impulsive, but hers is ruled by her Taurus Mars. And like I said, Mars in Taurus avoids conflict. So her tendency to be impulsive could be subdued, more intentional maybe. And her moon's in her 9th house of God too. So religion, spirituality, and foundational beliefs could play a major role in her life. She literally needs to believe in something to stay grounded. She also has a need for travel and learning and experiencing other cultures. And then she's a Leo rising, my sister. So alike. So she's a star. Leo is a sign of celebrity. Like fellow Aries, Jordan Childs, Celine Dion is that girl. Once again, her sun is her chart ruler. And Leo risings need to be seen, and they need validation from parents early in life and from peers and partners later in life. So maybe a girl who doesn't get a ton of attention, as she is one of 14, like a little troop, would seek attention from a partner or something. And her Leo rising, of course, is ruled by her exalted sun, which rejoices in the 9th house. So yeah, she's literally such a shining star. She has strong vitality. She's a born performer. She's the voice of an angel. And she also has Jupiter in Leo in her 1st house. So Jupiter in Leo is a hero placement. It's confident and benevolent. And people who have Jupiter in the 1st house are jovial and pleasant to be around. And they have a good sense of humor. And people just naturally want to help them. And they want to help other people too. And then I just want to touch on her 9th house Aries stellium. So planets in the 9th house color your worldview. And this house is associated with spirituality and religion, publishing, ethics, education, morality, role models, good deeds, foreign travel. And along with her sun and moon, she also has her natal Saturn in fall in Aries, and it's conjunct her midheaven. And then her north node's here too. So Saturn in fall in Aries is tough. This placement can put a lot of pressure on themselves to succeed on their own. So without help or before they're ready or before they've paid their dues. But at the same time, planets in fall have to work twice as hard to get half as much respect as their more, their peers with, more dignity planet.
Damn.
And so people might overlook all the hard work she's put in just because she's a natural talent. But Saturn is still Saturn. So she also has a day chart, which means that the sun is above her ascendant-descendant line. And this makes Saturn her favored malefic. So when Saturn is conjunct the midheaven, the native puts in work to get far and is able to achieve career longevity. And when the favored malefic is above the horizon, it can be more helpful than destructive, or about creative destruction as opposed to destructive destruction. She also has Venus I'll talk about that part later. Also, Jupiter stationed direct 22 days after she was born. So maybe around age 22 was a big time in her career, or maybe that's when she started to get public recognition. I'm not sure, but that's pretty significant.
It was around that time when she had a ton of hits.
Wow. So that would have been in her 1st house, and she would have been, wow, that's so cool.
Getting those hits. So at age 12, Celine worked with her mother and brother to write and compose her first song, which honestly ambitious of all of them. And they sent it to a music manager named Rene Angelil. Is that how you say it, you think? Angelil?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Angelil. I don't know.
Rene Angelil. Rene Angelil.
Rene Angelil.
And they found his name on the back of a record album. And we're going to talk more about Rene later.
Which honestly, what a way to do it. Just be like, look at this guy's name on the back of this record. Let's just send it to him. Like, how pure.
Did they find him in the phone book?
Phone book, yeah.
So Rene hears her voice and is like, yes, I love you, Celine. I will make you a star. So he helps her make her first record, which made her an instant star in Quebec. And then she emerged as this teen star in Canada with a series of French language albums during the 1980s.
Dang, so she was a true child star.
Yeah, from the moment she opened her voice up.
Wow, that's so crazy.
Inspiring.
And then she starts to get acclaim all around the world, not just in Canada. She wins the 1988 Eurovision Song Contest. Oh my God, cool.
Yeah.
I can't believe Canada's allowed in that, but whatever. I mean, great for Celine.
I think she sung on behalf of Sweden or something for some reason. I'm not sure why, but it was for a different country.
Okay, that makes a little more sense then. And everyone's like, whoa, you have an amazing voice. And so, Dana, tell us about her chart. What would show that she has an amazing voice? I know we talk about Taurus placements a lot, but let's get into it.
Okay, so Elise, you're psychic because, like I said, you guys already know she has that Mars in Taurus rules her 9th house Aries stellium, where she has her sun, moon, midheaven, Saturn, and north node. The sun is star power. The moon is emotion. The midheaven is career and reputation. Saturn is struggle and dedication. And the north node pushes us forward. And it adds so much extra gravity to the stellium because, once again, she was born on a solar eclipse in Aries. So Taurus is a sign of the voice and music. So with Mars, a planet of power and pursuit in Taurus, her voice is her power. And on top of that, her Taurus Mars is ruled by Venus, which is exalted in Pisces. So Taurus is the voice. Pisces is also associated with music and artists, especially those who seem to have otherworldly or ethereal gifts. So yeah, again, she has the voice of an angel. And her Pisces Venus is exactly conjunct Mercury in fall in Pisces. One of Jenny Holzer's truisms is the most profound things are inexpressible. And this is my favorite way to think about Mercury in Pisces. So since Mercury is in its fall here, it can struggle to express itself using only words. So it finds other channels to communicate, such as singing.
Yeah, I was going to say music in general is like a way to communicate things that you can't always put into words.
And the emotion, if your people's voices does, hit some note, like it hits your heart,
Yeah.
You know, it hits
like
your
the
heart.
note she hits in my heart will go on.
Yeah. That's it.
After winning Eurovision, she's like, I want to be a big star. I want to be as famous as Michael Jackson. And Rene, who's her manager now, is like, okay, you got to fix those teeth, girl. So she steps out of the spotlight for a bit to get some dental surgery, and she learns English.
I was like, there's no way Celine Dion could have looked bad. She's just like chic. And then I looked back at her 1988 Eurovision outfit.
I haven't seen this outfit, but I know she was very Princess Diaries, like Anne Hathaway before the makeover.
That is a very good point. So look at this photo because it is so, that's whoever said that was spot on.
Her teeth look like they were already fixed here, though. Or maybe it's
they might have started to be. She had really weird canine teeth. Kind of like Taylor Swift had really bad canine teeth.
Oh,
and then
I like that they had that. But I'm a freak. Yeah, this outfit's pretty fun. Definitely needs some hair serum.
Basically a white, long, it's a kind of like a really frizzy, not a fro, but it just doesn't have any shape.
You can
it's
see
just
her
like a
split
shapeless
ends in this picture.
And that was a picture from 1988.
Which is
so it's not like there was high def. Were hidden by. So not great. But I wouldn't say she needed like a full blown makeover. But I would say the Anne Hathaway pre and post Princess Diaries is pretty accurate. So she definitely needed a little bit of a makeover. So anyway, let's talk Rene. Rene, again, is the guy they found on the back of a CD or a album. And he ends up becoming her husband and manager. And remember, they met when Celine was 12 and he was 38.
So an age difference was there.
Something of an age gap.
Yeah. But at the time, Rene was just getting out of his second marriage. He started getting feelings for Celine. I don't know. Like, I can't say if it was when she was 12. I like to think it's when she's a little older.
Sure.
But he's like, no, I can't get feelings for her. So he basically is like, I got to get out of here and have some separation. So for a while, he stopped being her manager for like a year. And he went to Vegas and she just was living her life without him. And she at one point later said, like, he avoided being alone with me for a very long time.
Oh. Okay. And while he was gone in Vegas, Celine realized that she loved him. She was like, I'm in love with a man who I couldn't love, who didn't want me to love him, who didn't want to love me. So that seems like a little bit of a conundrum.
Yeah.
And her mom was like, no, you're a minor. You're too young.
And Celine, in the words of Taylor Swift, instead of daddy, though, but mommy, I love him. And she's like,
but mommy, I love him.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not a minor. This is also a quote from her. She said, I'm not a minor. This is a free country. No one has the right to prevent me from loving whoever I want to, which is so all Aries stellium. And then they start dating when she turns 20. So she's not 12, which is good. So what's her synastry?
Like, mommy, I want it now.
Yeah, she wasn't even 18. He waited until she was out of her teens, or I guess she told him. So yes.
Allegedly.
So she actually is she predatored him, of course. All young women do. So Rene was born on January 16th, 1942 at 6 p.m. in Montreal, Quebec, also Québécois. And he has a Capricorn sun and moon. So he was also born in a new moon like Celine, and he also has a Leo rising like Celine. So power is a major theme for both Leo and Capricorn. It's a very central theme to both of these signs. And so he likely enjoyed power, but also Capricorn's ruled by Saturn, the planet of responsibility and elders, and Aries is a sign of the baby. So of course he's old, she's young. And their angles are very tightly conjunct within a degree. So they understand each other.
Whoa.
Yeah, on a fundamental level. They share the same points of view. Transits to the angles are major, and having the same transits as your partner means you will both experience or endure the same transits at the same times. And so this can certainly bond two people together.
I have the same rising sign, my partner, and I think it makes us very much on the same page. But then when we're both going through it, we're both going through it.
You guys are also both the
so
same age. So being the same age, you have the same perfections. Like you'll have the same Time Lord, except for the 2 months between your birthdays, you know? So that'll be, you guys will always be able to stick it out together.
That's the plan. But it's annoying when two people are going through something and then they're like, can't just one of us be doing this?
Sure.
Do both of us have to be going through this?
That makes sense. Rene and Celine also have their Mars exactly conjunct at 2 degrees Taurus. So Mars is the planet of power, pursuit, action, and sex. Having Mars in the same sign and so tightly conjunct means they had similar styles and approaches to the aforementioned themes. And depending on many factors, just generally having Mars in the same sign as a romantic partner or spouse could be advantageous or disadvantageous, since Mars is the planet of conflict. But with Mars' detriment in Taurus, they might be similarly averse to conflict and unlikely to compete with one another. This could be good sexual compatibility. It's also really hard to compete with someone who was 38 when you were 12, 26-year age difference. But so they're also both born on new moons, and people born on new moons have novel approaches to life. Spiritually, being born on a new moon indicates a major objective in life is to create oneself. So it could be great for maintaining identity and independence within the relationship and supporting each other in these arenas. And Renee's South Node in Pisces is conjunct Celine's Mercury-Venus conjunction. So Mercury, of course, is the planet of communication. Venus is the planet of love. Both of these planets relate to communication or to connection, especially, of course, Venus. And the South Node is an eclipse point that adds gravity and often familiarity to whatever it touches. So this could have made them feel familiar with each other from the jump. You know, they met in a past life. I will say this, I don't have any hardline beliefs on twin flames in either direction. I don't think about them very much, but this does seem like a twin flamey type astrology, if I was to just guess. And then Renee's Mercury and Venus retrograde in Aquarius is in Celine's 7th house opposite her natal Jupiter. So Mercury and Venus are the planets of connection. Jupiter is the planet of benevolence and grace. And in the 7th house, she can open him up. Her Jupiter in her 1st house is able to open up his Saturnian, Mercury, and Venus, especially that Venus retrograde. But they also open each other up. And his Venus retrograde in Aquarius is ruled by, of course, Saturn. And as we covered in our Celebrity Couples Patreon episode this past Valentine's Day, Saturnian Venus people are most likely to have age gap relationships. So go and check that out if you want to hear more about that. And people who have natal Venus retrograde might find their most important relationships later in life. Also, when Sarah said that he avoided being alone with me for too long a time, when she quoted that quote from Celine, that's like so being in a relationship with someone who was Venus retrograde in Aquarius. And he goes to like Las Vegas to clear his mind. And then Renee has a Saturn-Uranus conjunction in Taurus in Celine's 10th house. So this is boosting her to celebrity. Saturn is commitment, discipline, and Uranus is surprises, diversions, innovations. It's a lightning bolt to her career. And of course, in her 10th house, he guided and propelled her career forward with this. And then that Saturn-Uranus conjunction also squares Celine's 1st house, Jupiter in Leo. And so Saturn is structure and Uranus is chaos. This could be destabilizing, but also very exciting. And with Saturn being commitment and Uranus is magnetic, but quick attraction. So Uranus transits can produce whirlwind relationships, but this conjunction could have made their relationship like permanently feel new and exciting. And then also with that Uranus-Jupiter square, it's an exact square that definitely could foster unending mutual inspiration. And then Renee's Pluto is in Leo, conjunct Celine's ascendant. So since his Pluto is conjunct her ascendant, it's also conjunct his own ascendant. And people who have Pluto conjunct the ascendant can be powerful, intimidating, intense, magnetic, and manipulative. And it just gives him like presence. And in synastry, this Pluto activating Celine's ascendant would feel intense and profound, and likely, it sounds like empowering, unless he was like someone, I don't know, but it seemed like it would have been like a fully transformative experience, of course, his presence in her life.
I think it's interesting that his sun and moon are in her 6th house and he was her boss, basically. Like he was her manager.
Yeah. And both of their 6th houses. So she's his employee.
Yeah. And then also his Jupiter is in her 11th house, which is giving her luck with Sam's, like helping get her out to people. It's pretty interesting.
That's wonderful. And also believing in her.
Wild. Yeah. Apparently he mortgaged his house to fund her first album.
Damn. Well, she has Neptune opposite his Uranus, and her Neptune's in both of their 4th houses. So he just like is like, I guess I'll just mortgage the house. That's cool.
Not know what to do with my home.
Yeah. He believed so fully in her, which is kind of amazing to have someone that's like willing to do that for you.
Precious.
So, they get engaged on Celine's 25th birthday, and we are going to look at their composite chart on the Patreon because there's more we have to say about Celine and Rene.
So, they're in love. And while they're in love, Celine's career is starting to take off. She enters the American music market because now she could speak English with her album Unison. Everyone's into it. She then sings the theme song for Beauty and the Beast, which I didn't even realize that was her.
I used to make my family watch me perform that.
Wow.
I would, tie
Leo rising child.
Tie scarves all around my body to make a dress.
Wow. I love that. So, overall, she's like, in our houses, popping off throughout the 90s, and she's making best-selling albums that feature international #1 hits like The Power of Love, Think Twice, To Love You More, Because You Loved Me, my favorite karaoke song, It's All Coming Back to Me Now.
It's all coming back to me now.
And that's just a few of her fucking hits.
Yeah, my grandma introduced me to Celine, so shout out my grandma.
Shout out Grandma.
Dana's grandma. But her true signature song, which I'm sure you all know, was for the blockbuster hit Titanic.
Yes.
And we've done an episode on Titanic. So if you want to go back and listen to it, we talk about the actual incident and we talk about the movie. So it's a, win-win. It was a true cultural moment in time, the movie. I guess also the sinking of the Titanic was too, but the movie is what we're talking about now. And this was a film directed, written, and co-produced by James Cameron, and it starred Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet.
And the song that she sang, obviously, My Heart Will Go On. It was written by James Horner, and the soundtrack was the best-selling album of 1998.
Crazy.
Sales of over 27 million copies.
It's so rare to have a soundtrack pop off, but to be like the actual best-selling album, just crazy.
And you had to go buy a CD.
Yeah.
Right. 27 million people went to buy a CD.
And I think I know I owned that CD, but I feel like it was a double CD. Maybe I'm making that part up, but most of it was like My Heart Will Go On and then a bunch of like Irish music, like just.
From those scenes in the bar downstairs.
Did you guys
in the ship
at your sleepovers try to do the standing on your toes?
Yes, all the time.
I love doing that.
I could never do it. In my head, I was doing it, but it was never.
I was like hurting myself. I was like, it's so easy. In extreme pain.
So in my head, I'm like, God, we were so pure. We would just do silly dances with our friends or try to step on our toes. And now kids are just like out there doing sexy TikToks. But also like that movie was not generally appropriate for a 9-year-old.
I think it was fine. My mom covered my eyes for the car sex scene, but not for the boob scene because that was art.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
She respects the female body. I saw that in theaters with my family. Same. And I was allowed to watch a lot of sex scenes growing up because my parents just didn't understand what a child could watch.
It was the 90s.
I had to step outside when all the people were drowning. I was really upset.
Sad. I mean, it is.
Damn, that's not.
No, I'm not laughing at people drowning. I'm laughing at how I know your mom and just how that's so cute.
I literally turned to her. I go, I need to step outside.
You self?
No, I self did it because I was like about to start sobbing, and my mom's like,
sad.
My mom's like, it's just a movie. It's just a movie.
Wait. Also, fun fact: did you know that James Cameron wrote Titanic because he's just so obsessed with shipwrecks? And he was
isn't he one of those ones that the billionaires that like went in those submarines?
He's one of the people who actually made it in a submersible.
I'm
sure his also wasn't like
submersible.
Like guided by
but he
a
like
Logitech
loves
controller.
It. That's why Titanic at the time was like one of the like obviously now when you look back you're like okay it doesn't have like shit on the green screen stuff that we use now and
I kind of prefer
I can't even think of it but at the time, that was a huge deal. And because he researched it so much, he was like, oh yeah, the Titanic probably like cracked in half. So he was like instrumental in showing it happen.
I've heard he's like a genius of sorts.
I don't know. I cannot confirm or deny that, but he does love a shipwreck.
But yeah, I sort of like that a bunch of, I don't know, hundreds of people were swimming in like the Gulf of Mexico in like old-timey outfits for a movie instead of a green screen. Whatever. I'm just old-fashioned like that. Sorry.
I think they did use a green screen.
They did not all the women in the Gulf of Mexico.
They did. Yes, they did.
Oh my God. Anyway, back to the Titanic album. It topped the charts in more than 25 countries, was the best, and My Heart Will Go On was the best-selling single of 1998. And it's the second best-selling single by a woman in the music history, best-selling single by a woman in music history, and one of the best-selling singles of all time. So let's talk about when Titanic was released, and specifically My Heart Will Go On. Just, what was I going to do?
Yeah, it's
hear that flute in my head.
I wish that I learned how to play that on the recorder. This was December 19th, 1997, and the sun was in Sagittarius, and the moon was in Leo, entering Virgo in the morning. So the moon is trining the sun in fire signs, which is great for a big box office movie. And it's especially beneficial for Celine since she has major placements in Aries and Leo. And then, of course, her fifth house is Sagittarius, the house of creativity. And it's 7 days before Venus stationed retrograde in Aquarius conjunct Celine's descendant. So when Venus is stationing, it has around a few degrees. And so this was an extended conjunction to her descendant for roughly 1 month from December 11th through January 9th or so. And then that's just like within 2 degrees. And Venus is money, the descendant is contract. So this indicates reaping the rewards from a lucrative contract. And also it's really boosting her public image. And Mars and Uranus are in Aquarius, also conjunct her natal descendant. So Mars is power, Uranus is electric. This is just electric for her career and for her dealings with the public. Celine's also was in her Saturn return almost exactly. So her Saturn is in fallen Aries, but like I said earlier, it's above the horizon in her day chart. So this can make it more prone to creative destruction than outright destruction. And her Saturn's also conjunct her midheaven, the point of career and public reputation. So Saturn's a solid planet. It's about permanence. And this just solidified her icon status, especially in that 9th house of icons. And the South Node in Pisces is conjunct Celine's Venus-Mercury conjunction in her natal 8th house. So this is bringing up insecurities about communication or speaking, but then it like sort of excises them. It takes all that away. And then Celine was in a 6th house Capricorn Saturn year. So this is a year about work, and it emphasizes her Saturn return and the changes in her career. In her solar return chart, Mars retrograde in Virgo is conjunct the North Node, and this conjunction is conjunct her natal Pluto-Uranus conjunction in her natal 2nd house. So Mars retrograde in Virgo is like extra perfectionist. It's dotting every I and crossing every T. And then the North Node is an eclipse point, and it's related to increase, and it's on her natal Pluto-Uranus conjunction in her 2nd house of earnings and personal finances. So this is just fireworks for making money. It's a huge payday and really also enhances her confidence. I feel like this all sort of was probably hard for her in terms of maybe having to talk more, maybe doing more press, but it probably helped her enhance whatever insecurity she might have had around it. And then her solar return also coincided with a Saturn Cazimi, and a Venus Cazimi was a few days later on April 2nd. So Saturn is permanence, Venus is art. This is making a work of art that will outlive her. It's something that she'll be known for generations to come. As long as music is around, I assume this was probably it's an iconic song.
No, yeah, so iconic. Yeah, that stacked stellium in the 9th house is like, let's pop off with a single.
Internationally.
I was watching the dressage. It's hard to say. And that's when the horses kind of like prance to the music. And one of them was prancing to a flute instrumental of My Heart Will Go On.
Majestic.
And it was amazing. It was majestic. And the girl who was on the horse, I expected it to be an older person, because I was like, it was a 17-year-old girl. So
Respect.
My Heart Will Go On continues to go on, friends.
Cool.
So also something interesting that plays into the fact that it was her Saturn return and a Saturn theme of having an older man kind of helping you out. when she first heard the song, she didn't want to do it. And then Rene was like, no, you should do this song.
Oh my
This is going to
God.
be a good song. Yeah.
So also, his Capricorn placements were probably also enhanced in her chart then too, since she was in a Capricorn year and he has his sun and moon there. So he's able to sort of see this is a good new beginning.
Yeah. So Celine now certified star for sure. But then she moves on to something else that is a very important life milestone, which is she becomes a mom for the first time. But because she's always getting that bag, she immediately starts, I wouldn't say immediately, but right after she has her kid, she starts a Vegas residency, which is hugely successful. In fact, she's thought of as being the person that brought back live performances to Vegas. And her residency the first time lasted 3 years, and she had 700 sold out performances. And then when that residency ended, she went on a world tour. And then after that world tour, she had twins. So she's just like getting after it.
A real Aries.
Good for her.
Doing it all.
So her life was going pretty great until Rene gets cancer again. And so she cuts back on her engagements to take care of him. But eventually he's like, you got to get back out there on stage. He was encouraging her to go out there and perform. So she starts up her Vegas residency again.
So unfortunately, Rene passes away. However, Celine, ever the Aries, going after it, working hard, being an icon. She keeps performing because she knows the fans depend on her. Her fans are very important to her, so she doesn't want to disappoint them. So she's basically just nonstop touring and Las Vegas residencying forever until eventually we hit 2020 and COVID happens. And then, you know, the world opens back up again and she's going to start another residency, but then suddenly postpones it. And everybody is like, this is very un-Celine. What is going on?
Right. And so she announces that she's been dealing with health issues and that she's been diagnosed with stiff person syndrome, which is a rare neurological disease, which is characterized by progressive muscular rigidity and stiffness. And she said that the disease affected every aspect of her life, making it difficult to even walk, and affected her vocal cords.
Tragedy.
Yeah, she has very painful spasms from it. And she said that she's broken ribs from spasming so hard. And it's affected her singing voice in that it becomes a lot more nasally, which obviously is not something a singer wants. And she talks a lot about it in her documentary, I Am Celine Dion. So, Dana, what was going on when she announced her diagnosis?
She announced the diagnosis on December 8th, 2022. And on that day, the sun was in Sagittarius and the moon was in Gemini. It was right the day after a full moon in Gemini conjunct Mars, which was also retrograde in Gemini. So that's tough. She's very Martian with her Aries stellium, and this Mars retrograde is in her 11th house of audience. So she's sort of like, hey, I have something to say, and it's less than ideal. Neptune in Pisces is conjunct her natal Mercury, Venus conjunction in her 8th house. So she doesn't really know what the future holds. And she also, this is her sort of having to tell her audience, again, something surprising, something that people don't really understand because Neptune is conjunct her Mercury, which rules that 11th house of audience. And then what really stuck out to me is that she has major Chiron transits, and Chiron is the wounded healer, and Chiron transits can trigger events related to healing, but also being wounded. And so Jupiter in Pisces is conjunct her natal Chiron. This sort of offers hope in despair, I think. And then Chiron in Aries is conjunct her natal sun, midheaven, and Saturn. So the sun's vitality, and it's her chart ruler. And so it's a planet that represents herself and really relates to her own health. And then the midheaven is her reputation and publicity. And Saturn is literally the planet of being stiff. So all of a sudden she gets this new reputation for stiffness. I mean, not stiffness, a disease called stiff person syndrome.
Wow.
And then Uranus is conjunct the North Node in Taurus in her natal 10th house. So it's sort of shocking revelations about her career. Taurus is the sign of stability. Uranus is the planet of instability. It's just really destabilizing. And then briefly looking at her solar return, Celine was in a 7th house Aquarius Saturn year. So like I said, Saturn is stiff. And on top of that,
crazy,
Saturn was domicile in Aquarius in her perfected sign in her solar return at the time, in her solar return and at the time of her announcement. So it's just extra stiff, extra Saturnian difficulties.
Literally went stiff. Sad. But despite her diagnosis, Celine was working very hard behind the scenes, and she finally returned to the world stage at the 2024 Paris Olympics opening ceremony. She performed on the literal Eiffel Tower under the Olympics logo, and it was so epic. She had not performed publicly for years. She sang in beautiful French. It was just like chills. Kelly Clarkson was sobbing on the national broadcast. It was crazy.
That was
yeah, people loved her performance. The Guardian said that it was undaunted. It was an undaunted, beatific return with the gusto of someone who, by her own admission, longs to resume touring more than her fans. So she just like honestly really wants to do whatever she can to get back out there. So I hope she does. Dana, though, looking at her chart, what do you think for her coming up?
Okay, so on March 30th, at her last birthday, she began a 9th house Aries year, activating her natal Mars, the Time Lord, and of course, her like massive stellium. So the 9th house will always activate that natal Mars. So it's really about the 9th house. It's activating her natal solar eclipse, making it an eclipse moment. It's a year of turning points. It's activating her midheaven, so her career, and it's the North Node. So we're looking to the future. And then, of course, it activates Mars in her 10th house of visibility and publicity, which I quite like. And then also, so July 26, 2024, her progressed moon was trine her natal Pluto, and that was literally the day of the opening ceremony. So that's pretty cool that the progressed moon is perfecting its trine to her natal Pluto. Pluto is the planet of transformation and power, and the trine makes things easier. So this is something where I remember Kelly Clarkson was crying for a lot of reasons, but also because she was explaining how tough Celine's condition is. And this moon is sort of making things a little maybe easier. I don't know what how it felt for her to be up there, but I think it was improving those sorts of symptoms. And then coming up on December 2nd, 2024, her progressed Mercury sextiles her progressed Jupiter. This is wonderful if she wants to do a new project. If she's listening around this time, she might launch a new project. Mercury rules her 2nd house of income and her 11th house of audience. And Jupiter is the planet of abundance. It's in her 1st house of self, and it rules her 8th house and her 5th house of creativity. So this could be literally maybe she will announce a new project or start working on one around that time. And then on March 21st, 2025, her progressed moon is conjunct her progressed Venus in Taurus, the sign of the voice, in her 10th house.
Oh my God, maybe she gets her voice back.
Amazing. I would die for that. And then on November 2nd, 2025, she has a progressed new moon at 6 degrees Gemini, close to her progressed midheaven. So this is cool. This could be sort of like a new page in her career. At the same time, she's in her nodal return right now. So it's also really boosting her to visibility again and renewing her icon status. And then on October 2nd, 2024, so coming up, there is a solar eclipse in Libra, exactly opposite her natal sun. So this could be, this is below her horizon. This could be maybe something more personal, but it could also be about working on something new, maybe new collaborators. Then there's another Aries eclipse next spring, and that will also, I think next spring is going to be really big for her in terms of if she either will be working on something then or even announcing, new projects.
Okay, so we've got some good predictions for her. We're going to hear from Celine, I think. The Olympics was just the beginning of her quote unquote comeback, is what you think. Yes. Oh my God, what do you guys think it's going to be? I hope it's not a podcast.
I don't, I would watch. Actually, I would love that. I would listen
like a podcast
would strain her voice,
I want more music from her. I just I want her to go back to those 90s
progressed new moon in Gemini. I wonder if it would be some sort of collaboration.
I don't know. The first thing that popped into my head was, I wonder if she would just do one big performance somewhere, like a giant performance. I don't know how this stiff person syndrome works, but I feel like she can't probably do a residency like she did before. So maybe she just does like a huge concert in one place. Her
second Saturn return also begins next summer. So that could make things tough. But since her last Saturn return coincided with the release of her most famous and iconic song, it could also be, again, related to a new iconic project.
Oh my God. Imagine this. You know how Elton John did his By Yellow Brick Road album, but he had like all of these people.
Oh yeah, like the Dua Lipa, Britney Spears.
Yeah, do like covers. Imagine if she did that with all of her songs and then had a big concert with all of those people performing her songs, and then she did a set.
What would you want at her concert? What would be your dream cover?
Well, obviously one would involve Taylor Swift, but I don't know what song it would be. Oh my God, imagine if Adele did My Heart Will Go On.
Oh,
that would be great.
Adele has to be involved in this.
Yes.
I do think Gaga would get involved for sure.
Would find another Aries.
She would insert herself. What about Beyonce? Do you think Beyonce would do something? I don't know.
Cool.
She did cover Dolly Parton.
Oh yeah,
so. That's true. Wow.
What about a male singer?
Oh, I know.
I'm like, who could it be?
I'm kidding.
I mean,
no, I feel like Michael Bublé, though, would do something because he's Canadian. It would be kind of lame, but the Canadians would love it.
It's like,
what if Drake had like a weird sample in one of her songs?
That would be so The Weeknd. That would be a very strange collab, but also Canadian.
I always
maybe she would cover his song where he says, "Never need a bitch, I'm what a bitch need," but she would make it beautiful. I do love that song by him.
Oh my God.
That would.
What if Harry Styles did a song?
Oh, that would be really good. I think it has to be like a gay icon too. Maybe like Troye Sivan.
To her own icon. I can't imagine Mariah.
Who?
Oh yeah,
Troye Sivan.
Is his voice?
I don't know if his voice can do it, but
I like him.
We'll see. Maybe there's some that. Maybe there's some.
Lily Depp. She does have a good voice, but I don't think that would happen. Okay, what do you guys think? Let us know.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments.
Who are your dream collabs singing a Celine Dion song at a Celine Dion concert?
Truly, I'm curious.
I am curious too. Well, what a prediction. We can't wait to see. And with that, I'm
Dana.
Elise.
And I'm Sarah.
And this is Allegedly Astrology.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Our hearts.
I think we did that at the end of the other Titanic episode.